All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Asian Pacific American Business Webinar entitled Diversity, Resilience, and Success. I'm Joel Jacinto, the Business Service Representative here at the West Adams WorkSource Center, and I'm really happy that you're here this morning on the 26th of May in celebration of Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. Boy, that's a mouthful. But it is May, it's our month. Diversity is such an important role in this society in this current period, as well as business, small businesses, diverse businesses. That's what we're here about. And I'm happy to share with you what our purpose is this morning. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight two organizations, two anchor organizations in the Asian and Pacific Islander community. One is the Asian American Drug Abuse Program, and the other anchor is the Pacific Asian Consortium and Employment. And together, PACE and AADAP have almost 100 years. That's a century of service, not only to the diverse Asian and Pacific Islander communities of Southern California, but to all communities, all diverse communities in Southern California. The other thing that we'd like to do today is we'd like to share with you the partnership that AADAP and PACE have in the small business sector through the Mid-City Business Source WorkSource partnership that is run by PACE's Business Source Center and AADAP's West Adams WorkSource Center. All right? So what are we going to do this morning for the next 45 minutes to an hour? We're going to do three things. We're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about success and how that employs the use of digital marketing and how digital marketing can help our small and diverse businesses move forward in this time of COVID, of physical distancing, but still of connection and business as moving forward. The second, we're going to talk about resilience. We're going to hear from a small business owner that's been able to pivot in this time of pandemic, to be able to recreate a business model and move forward and be successful. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about diversity. And diversity is not just a buzzword. Diversity is the world. Diversity is Los Angeles. And so we want to hear about how diversity opportunities and the mindset of diversity can help our small businesses move forward. The fourth thing we're going to do is, if you'll allow us to be able to do that, is to participate with us. We're going to have a question and answer period. So for housekeeping, everybody, what we'd like you to do is be able to write your questions in the chat. And after the presentations, our three presentations or segments, we're going to go live with our staff and be able to talk story with all of you. Okay, can we do that? Excellent. This is the Hawaiian word for everything is okay. It's a shaka. And since it's API Heritage Month. So we're going to go to the first, we're going to welcome you all on behalf of our two stalwart organizations, our anchor organizations. On behalf of the Asian American Drug Abuse, I want to introduce Daisy Asis Nakanishi, who is the program director for the Employment Access Unit of the organization. Daisy's been with AADAP for almost 30 years. Yes, she started when she was a child, but Daisy's been great. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to work with Daisy, with Mr. Lewis, our program coordinator here at the West Adams WorkSource Center, and a whole host of wonderful staff that make this work center serve the community. So without further ado, I'd like you to help me in welcoming Daisy Asis Nakanishi and her remarks, opening remarks from AADAP. Everybody's welcome. Daisy? Team, can we put it over to Daisy? Oh, you're having difficulties? Okay.
I'm looking for Daisy here. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll see her name.
All right. So this is technology, but we're going to flow with it because we're all in scattered sites. As the API population is diversely scattered throughout Los Angeles, we are doing this webinar with probably, I would say, almost a dozen sites. We have our crack team of PACE with Daniel, MacGyver, and Yu over there, and they're working remotely. Daisy's going to be logging on to her computer to give the remarks on behalf of AADAP. We have two wonderful speakers in Michael Chi for digital marketing and Veronica Soto for diversity. We have our small business owner, Aisha Iko, who's also remote. So I think technology is the way forward. It's always a challenge. and be able to work out. So hopefully we'll be able to see Daisy real soon. And if we can, I'll go ahead and give the opening remarks on behalf of Daisy and AADAP, because it's important that we understand these two organizations in the Asian Pacific Islander context, because although they serve the general Los Angeles population, they're rooted. They were born out of the struggles of the Asian American movement. And for those of you who are watching PBS, or would you like to watch a great new documentary called Asian Americans, this is a refresh, a retake look at the Asian American experience that was produced by PBS, a wonderful kind of almost 200-year history of Asian Americans in America. And if you haven't, it's broadcast on pbs.org. I'd encourage you to go view that, as well as for every diversity month, and we can't be limited months, but whether it's African American Heritage Month, Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month, LGBTQ month, Women's Month, all the different months that we celebrate in diversity, really let's expand them to how we live our lives on a daily basis, that we're aware of this diverse Los Angeles community and all its splendor, all its nuance, all its geographic and cultural diversity. So, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and give Daisy's remarks, okay? Because I wanna keep us moving forward. And if I were Daisy, I would say, hi everybody, this is Daisy Nakanishi, Employment Access Program Director, and I'm happy to represent our entire organization and Mike Watanabe, the President and CEO of the Asian American Drug Abuse Program, or AADAP. Our history dates back almost 50 years and is founded on our mission to change lives and save families by providing comprehensive substance abuse and other social services to Asian and Pacific Islander and other diverse communities. Our programs include education, prevention, intervention, treatment, employment advocacy, outreach, and economic development. Our motto is plain and simple: people need people. And with the core values of diversity, inclusion, and social justice, these beliefs drive our services to over 20,000 individuals annually. In May, we celebrate Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I want to share with you that it's important to note that AADAP's roots as one of the Los Angeles County's oldest substance abuse treatment and prevention organizations are based on specifically serving Asian Americans. At the same time, over our long history, the agency has broadened our mission and expertise to providing culturally competent services to all populations, while broadening our staff diversity to reflect the cultural and ethnic spectrum of the surrounding community. Today, we're pleased to highlight our employment access services, job training and placement programs that began in 1980 and continue today through our West Adams Workforce Center, which is one of the highest performing centers in the city of Los Angeles. Our center provides job training and employment opportunities for youth and adults and connects businesses and employers to skilled workers and resources. As a result of the current pandemic, we have been working with COVID-impacted workers with supportive services and financial resources. We're also helping businesses who are qualified and hiring qualified and diverse employees, as well as helping businesses pivot their business models to seize new and emerging opportunities. So thank you, everyone, on behalf of Daisy Nakanishi and Mike Watanabe and the entire AADAP organization, for allowing me to share with you an overview of AADAP and our motto, plain and simple, now more than ever, that people need people. So with that, I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming our partners in service, our partners in community, our partners in Asian Pacific Islander empowerment. I'm going to bring on Wai-Ling Chin. Wai-Ling Chin is a program manager for the Mid-City Business Source Center. She's been great to work with. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Wai-Ling Chin.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I'd just like to know if can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. It has been privilege that I've been invited to this collaboration, and I'm very excited. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing all the great work that AADAP has been doing in the community. I'm very excited together with all of you celebrating the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month and the business resiliency, especially during this unprecedented time. My name is Wai-Ling Chin. I'm the Business Counselor Manager at PACE, Pacific Asian Consortium in Employment. PACE is a community development organization that creates economic solutions to meet the challenges of employment, education, housing, and the environment, and also the business development. Specifically, we want to focus on the Pacific Asian and other diverse community. So PACE has been around for many, many years. We were founded in 1976. PACE has been recognized as a leader in the addressing poverty, economic inequality within the low-income, ethnic, and immigrant community in the greater Los Angeles area. We have been blessed to have AADAP hosting PACE, one of our 2 business source center for the city of Los Angeles. We operate the Central West Center in the downtown area, and our Mid-City Business Source Center is located at AADAP. And we thank you for this many years of partnership. It has been great. So let me give you a little bit history or the services that we provide at the Business Source Center. So we currently, even though the COVID-19, we currently we open to serve our client through phone or virtual appointments. We provide a full suite of service at no cost. It's free of charge. Our service including one-on-one business counseling, how to obtain procurement and government contracting. If you are a startup business, you want to know how to get secure your business license or your seller permits or any other permits. We host regular workshop and training. And during this time, we have been moving towards all the online training, especially Zoom meeting, webinars. PACE also is a VITA site, which is called the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant. We have been providing free income tax services to low and moderate income individuals and family for the last 14 years. We also very proud to add another program this year, the California Earned Income Tax Credit Education and Outreach Program, the CAL-EITC, to educate our community the benefit of filing your taxes and claiming all your credits. On the other hand, on the business side, we provide guidance on small business loan and how to access to capital. Especially during this time, we have a task force to help small businesses navigate through the many disaster loans and connect with various lenders. We especially for example, we partner with CRF, the Community Reinvestment Fund for the PPP loan program. And we also partner with PCR, Pacific Coast Regional, for the microloans program. PACE, our in-house, we also provide our own disaster loan program. We are a SBA microlender and also a CDFI. We provide loans in-house up to $250,000. But during this time, our focus is the COVID-19 disaster loan. So that is the focus right now, that we want to help all the small business to be able to maneuver through this unprecedented time. And finally, our service are offered in various languages: Thai, Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, Thai, and Korean. So we are happy to be informed, to help you, to provide assistance to you. I would like to introduce you to my 2 other business counselors. Jose Francisco Sosa, or we call him Frank, and also Suprani May. We are here, both of them are full-time at the AADAP Worksource Center and our Mid-City Business Source Center. This is the last slide, is all our contact information. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to Joe. Thank you.
Excellent. Wai Ling, thank you so much. That was a great overview of PACE. And thank you for continuing your services as well. Everybody, we're going to move forward to our first segment. And we're really honored to have Michael Chi, who is the Director of External Communications for APAHM. There you are, Michael. Michael has over 30 years public relations and communications experience, encompassing consumer, corporate, business-to-business, healthcare, large-scale infrastructure, public affairs, and high-profile crisis and issues management. In his current role, Michael supervises AECOM's external media and communications for its design and consulting service business lines across America. Michael is truly accomplished in so many areas. He's worked with so many different organizations, including Bank of America, Blue Cross, WellPoint, the iconic LA County Fair, and he's delivered community engagement programs for clients in healthcare delivery, financing, state and municipal governments, and of course, nonprofit community-based organizations. I know Michael from his service as the chair of the Asia Pacific Community Fund, as a board member, and also with the Asian American Professional Association. Although Michael says he is a Los Angeles native, I know he has roots and fruits in Hawaii. So Brother Michael, I'm going to wish you aloha. How's it? Welcome. Michael, so happy, so honored to have you here for Asian Pacific Islander Month. Please share with our business, our diverse community, your mana'o, your thoughts and your wisdom around digital marketing.
All right. Mahalo, Joel. Thank you. Happy Asian Pacific Heritage Month to everybody on the call this morning. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know who that guy was Joel was talking about. Like, who is that? I'm going to try and share with you and give you all a crash course in digital marketing. And I know that this is becoming more of a tool and a resource in the days that we're living, because as we all have converted to digital or work from home, small businesses, individual entrepreneurs, small companies are all leaning more heavily on digital marketing to make their products, services available to people, right? Because it's just the way the world is working right now. So in order to figure out what to do and how to do it, you got to know how it works. So what is digital marketing? I'll jump into it here on the first slide. Imagine you're all fish finders, right? Fish Finder, if you've ever seen that, is really just a digital tool. Helps you look under the water, under rivers, under the ocean, under the rocks. What is it helping you do? It's helping you find the fish. So you're all fish finders and you want to find the fish. Why? Because you want those fish to come to you, or you want to catch them for one reason or another. So these are the basic questions you all need to ask yourselves when you are thinking about engaging in digital marketing or using digital marketing, or if you're already using digital marketing in one form or another, right? The first thing you have to ask is, who are your audience? Who are they? Know your audience. The first question you have to ask is, who are they? And this is one time where profiling is actually a positive, because you are trying to figure out and define who they are. By defining who they are, it allows you to fine-tune your approach, right? What kind of fishing pole, what kind of fishing line, what kind of hook are you going to use to try and get them on board and have them pay attention to you? So you need to know these basic things about them and their profile. What is their age mix? What is their ethnicity? What are their language preferences? What are their income levels? What are their interests? What are their needs? What are their behaviors? And something some people don't always ask, but is very important, is what are their dislikes, right? And the reason you want to ask that question is because you want to avoid promoting or indicating something in your marketing that you know is going to turn them off. A lot of people don't think about that. They just automatically think their product or their service is something important, but if you don't know what your audience profile is, you could end up turning a certain portion of them off, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep your net as wide as possible, right? Second question is, where are they? Where are your people congregating? Where are the fish you want to catch swimming? Where do they live? What kind of neighborhoods are they in, right? This is just the next layer of enhancement to how you profile your audience. You know, understand, what do they read? Where do they shop? Where do they like to buy their groceries? Where do they like to buy their clothes? What kinds of publications are they looking at? Are they looking at magazines? Are they looking at newspapers? Are they reading online? This will all become clearer why I'm instructing you to ask these questions, because if you don't take this first step of profiling and understanding your audience, nothing else you do is going to work, right? It all starts with the audience. It's not about you. It's not about your product and service. It's how you position your product or service for the audience. So you have to understand them first. And what are they listening or paying attention to, right? These are all just guidelines to help you get started if you're not already doing it, or if you are already doing it, hopefully it will help you refine your approach. And then the last one is, what are you trying to say to them? What do I mean by that? That means, what is your message, right? Is your message an ask? Are you trying to ask them a question to get an answer? Are you trying to sell them something? Or are you trying to inform or educate them, right? All these things, whether you're asking a question or whether you're selling a product or a service, or whether you're trying to provide product information or education, requires a different approach because they're different messages, right? So these things in combinations are your platform, are your core for getting through this and making sure you create an effective digital marketing platform regardless of the vehicle you choose to use. So let's go to the next slide. So once you figure out who they are, where they are, what they're reading, what they're paying attention to, what they like, what they don't like, what's the best way to reach them, right? What kind of fishing pole are you going to use? What kind of bait are you going to use? So this is where the world starts to open up to everybody today, right? Especially individuals and small businesses. We're just venturing into this for the first time. So these are just the basics. This is not the end all be all of how you can market yourself, but these are some of the core things that can help you get started. More importantly, they can help you get started with your marketing on a digital level at a very low entry price, right? There are all kinds of consultants, there are all kinds of confirms out there in the marketplace, especially here in the Los Angeles area, who provide these services at a very high level. Some focus specifically in nonprofit or small business, others focus in the larger markets with companies that have a bigger presence, a bigger brand, and a bigger spread. And so it's variable, right? Everybody's needs are variable. So this is really a beginner's course to help those of you on the small end or the entrepreneurial end understand what you can do. So the first step these days, and this was going on long before the pandemic started, is obviously social media, right? And if you don't understand social media well, you need to start understanding it well, because it is something that can be used to your advantage, but it can also affect you adversely depending on how you're trying to engage and where you're trying to engage. So it's not a place where you just go throwing out posts and putting up statements and expecting something to happen, right? If that's your idea of social media, that's not how it works. So what I want to tell you here is you have several forms of social media to utilize when it comes to marketing yourselves, right? You have organic posting, which means self-generated content. That means if you have a LinkedIn handle or profile, if you have an Instagram handle, if you have a Twitter handle, your organic posts are things that you are coming up with on your own, by yourself, and posting, right? In other words, just like when you take a plant and you put it in the field and you grow it yourself, that's your organic self-generated content. Paid content is exactly that. It's what you pay for, right? You can spend money. All these platforms today offer very excellent platforms to help target your audiences, and you can spend as much or as little as you like, and you can now refine your targeting against your market, against your audience, very, very specifically. So the tools available to you under all the social media platforms to do paid, targeted marketing and advertising are very robust these days. So that's very different from organic, because the way paid social media shows up to people when they're clicking through their Facebook pages or they're scrolling through their Instagram feeds is very different from how organic media appears to them, right? And then the last in social media, and I'm sure you've all heard this if you read the news or if you use social media consistently, there are people out there, organizations out there known as influencers. There are discussion groups, and there are special interest groups by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions out there, especially in a media market as rich as Los Angeles, right? So again, the reason these are important to know is because you just don't want to throw it out to anybody. You don't want to put your content out to anybody. You want to target the influencers and discussion groups and special interest groups that align with your audience and your audience interests, right? So it goes back to that first part about understanding who the audience are and then matching them against these influencers, discussion groups, and special interest groups if you're going to tag them or tap into them or join their discussions in order to amplify your voice, right? So let's talk about that paid digital media portion, because there are also many different forms of paid digital media. And again, these are just some of the basics, right? So paid digital media is you are actually giving money to someone or some entity or some platform. You are paying to put your message or your content out there, right? The packaging of your content or your message can be designed, can be manipulated, just like when you lay out an ad for a newspaper or a magazine. The way your content appears through paid digital media matters, and you have many, many choices about its appearance and how that works, right? So one of the ways you can do it is by orchestrating your media by joining with a media partner. What is a media partner? A media partner could be a radio station, could be a community newspaper, could be somebody like the Los Angeles Times or the Wall Street Journal. It could be the business journals. It could be a single business journal, or it could be multiple business journals, because a lot of print partners are syndicated, right? Meaning they publish as a group, and you can negotiate with them as a group. So what that means is you can expand your footprint. You can expand the reach of your social media. So that's one way you can do it. You can orchestrate your own digital ad buy. In other words, where you place it, what your reach and frequency looks like. You can use Google Ads to do this. And as I mentioned above, in social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram all offer paid promotional options where you go in and you click and you choose your options, as many as you want, as many as you think makes sense, and you can put your own content out there in a paid format, right? Another very common tool, just to mention real quickly, is email marketing. And that's where you pay a vendor, a third-party vendor or contractor, to package your content. You're buying access to lists, just like you would in the old days. An old mailing list meant you actually physically bought labels and you paid for postage and you put envelopes together and you would drop your 100 or thousands of letters off at the post office, and they would go out in the mail to that list of recipients that you think matched your target audience. Now this happens digitally, right, with email marketing. So that's something you can now do digitally and electronically. And obviously the costs vary by the basis of all these things. Mostly reach and frequency, right? How big, how many, how often do you want to reach an audience determines what your pricing is on a lot of these. And as a primer. And the last point I'll make on this is, what we know now from the many, many millions of volumes of emails and digital marketing formats that have gone out there, the type of content that resonates most strongly and generates the greatest interest and the greatest feedback. And if you think about what you like to look at and what you like to view on social media, also has the highest potential for generating something to be viral is when it's in the visual format, right? Visual format these days being photos, the easiest of all, renderings, which could be architectural or graphic or illustrative drawings of a project or a process or a procedure, as long as it's done well, as long as it looks good, and most of all, compelling short form video, right? videos in the neighborhood of 60 seconds to 2 minutes long, not really much more than that. Maybe you might, in some instances, go as long as 3 minutes, but you're going to lose your audience, right? You're going to lose their attention after that. So short form video is very possible. And when you think about that, think about when you used to sit in a movie theater and see movie trailers for the upcoming previews, right? That's all about the gotcha, grab you factor, right? The wow factor. That's what we're talking about here in terms of your own content too. So that's obviously the extreme, but I want to plant the idea in your heads about what short form video means, right? It's compelling, it has a message, and it connects with your audience. So we'll take that into the next slide. So assuming you've defined who your audience is, right? You know where the fish are and you know where they're swimming, and now you've designed your message and you've chosen your platforms and you have your fishing pole and your bait and your hook and you know how you want to go after them. What happens then, right? You can't just drop a bunch of digital content into the marketplace and expect to see a reaction come back to you, right? Everything in marketing is at best an educated guess, right? What you are doing is trying to set yourself up by asking all those questions about audience up front, looking at the vehicles that might reach those audiences, right? And then making an educated guess, right? This is equivalent to if you're a fisherman and your boat is out in the ocean or out on a lake or out on a river, you're using that fish finder and you're trying to find the perfect spot in the lake or the water to drop your anchor and start fishing, right? At best, it's a guess. At best, it's a guess, but it's optimized because the fish finder is telling you, well, it looks like there's a lot of activity down here. So that's what you've hopefully done on the front end of this. Sorry, I wait because I can't read my own bullets on the screen. If we could take the other screens down. I want to make sure not to miss anything for you guys.
Michael, sorry, we're just, you're seeing the back door of production here at work. Thank you for, you know, I'm just marveling at the metaphor and your framework of fishing and being from Hawaii, of course, bro. That's how you live. You go find your food. And I love the empowering metaphor. Thank you, because it's such a refreshing way to do it. Back to Michael.
So here's how we go. So, oops, sorry, previous slide. So remember these three things, right? MAA, measure, analyze, adjust, right? First thing you need to do, whether you're a small business or a single entrepreneur or whatever you are, is ensure that your digital assets, the things that you already own, your website, your handles, your social media handles, are all optimized, right? Your website function and navigation should be clean, simple, easy to use. Your email portals should work effectively, meaning you're getting all the emails on a regular basis. You're not getting spam. Your spam filters aren't overly strict, but it's weeding out what it needs to weed out. And again, your social media platforms are all in sync so that people can get to you and find you, right? So making sure your house is in order, making sure your boat is working, your engine's working, your fishing gear is all working order, because if you go out and your engine fails or your reel doesn't work or you don't have bait, you're not gonna catch any fish, right? So make sure everything's working. Then what you need to do is test your theories. Remember how I said marketing is at best an educated guess. So how do you get better? How do you get people to come to you? How do you get people to pay attention to? That is, you're gonna test your theories. So once you know where your audience is, once you think you know who they are, right? You're gonna start playing around. It's very inexpensive. And when I say inexpensive, you can spend as little as $10 on Facebook or LinkedIn. You're not gonna get very much, but you can do it. But with $100, you can throw a pretty big net, believe it or not, on any of these platforms using their paid advertising services, which are open and available to everyone. You do not need to be an expert. You do not need to be a professional. You do not need to be an agency or a consultant to use them. As long as you have a handle, you can go into their, you can go into any of their websites and you can click on paid options or find paid options, and you can start to see. And I encourage you all to just go in and explore, right? Costs nothing, it's free to explore. You can see all the options that are available. This way you can float trials, right? You can spend $50 or $100, right, to invest in some targeted digital ad buys through these platforms and just see what happens. Push it out there, right? Click all the boxes, check all the parameters you want that match your audience, and see what happens. The other way you can do this is look for print media partners who fit your audience, right? You can speak to and negotiate with any of these partners. And these are now, digital marketing options have now evolved to even the smaller community newspapers. If you think about the Sentinel in South Los Angeles, if you think about the business journals, the LA Business Journal, it doesn't have to be the top of the line LA Times, it doesn't have to be the Cadillac, but really all newspapers, even the Chinese language newspapers these days, Chinese Daily News, others, they offer these options where you can work with them directly, one-on-one, and you can design a print or digital ad buy with them. And they will be able to float you numbers about reach, frequency, and audience, and you can try it that way too. Costs a little bit more money, but very, very effective. And then what you're always going to do to refine your theory is make sure you have metrics in place, right? Gathering the feedback. So let's say you spend $100 and you throw something out there. You're going to want to look at your results. These are where your frequencies are, right? These are where you're going to get, so having good analytics matters, right? Making sure your websites are optimized to capture Google Analytics in your search words and your keywords, because this is going to tell you very specific things like what time of day is your audience most engaged with you and reading things when you post them. Believe it, you can get as granular as that if you have really good metrics. So that, why does that matter? Well, if you know audiences and you have the most traffic and the most attention happening when you post something or when your website is live, and it happens at between 2 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, when are you going to want to throw your fishing line in the water? Between 2 and 4 p.m. on that weekday, right? Because that's when it's showing you, your metrics are showing you, that's when the most fish are out there. So having good metrics allows you to set your frequencies, right? Frequencies are tuning in, dialing in on the fish, dialing in on the audience. Then what does that allow you to do? It allows you to refine your buys, your targeting and investments continuously using these metrics. If you float a trial out there, if you try something on Facebook or Instagram and you find it misses, maybe you have to expand the number of people. Maybe you have to expand the region or the audience or the number of zip codes you choose, right? Maybe you have to add more and make your net bigger to see what happens. Maybe you have to change the time of day. Maybe you have to do all these things. No, you can only know that if you're looking at the metrics, right? And if you have good metrics in place. This way you can refine your buying, you can refine your targeting, and you can make your money work more effectively for you, no matter how much money, whether your budget is $15 or $150,000. Being able to refine based on your testing and probing of the market and seeing what kind of bait is working out there is what's going to provide you the best. And once you get those refinements going, then you're starting to get into the sweet spot, right? The better your results, the more you know you're tuning into the right place, which will take us to the wrap up here. On the next slide, please. So these are your 4 takeaways for today, right? Keep in mind everything I just shared with you. There's no magic formula. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, right? If you are an individual, a business entrepreneur, or if you're a nonprofit organization, or if you're a company with only 15 employees, right? You cannot use the same approach for all those entities and expect to get the same or even good results, right? Everything has to be customized for who you are and who your audience is, right? So just keep that in mind. There's no such thing as a shotgun. You can spend a lot of money, you can throw a lot of stuff out there, and in today's digital media world, because of the tools, you will generate some kind of response. There's no doubt about that, but is it going to be a good response? Is it from the people you want to be interacting with or influencing, right? It's about quality plus quantity, but you want to get to the quality, right? So the second point is what I just covered in the last piece. You want to set up good metrics and review them often because your insights matter, right? knowing what's happening. And the great thing about digital media these days and doing these kinds of buys and orchestrating these kinds of tests is that you get really good metrics really fast, almost in real time. If you do something for about 1 week, you're going to know at the end of the week what the response looks like and what's going on there, right? The last is what I just covered: test, refine, repeat, right? And if you're doing all this correctly, when the results are measured, you're going to enter what's called harmonics. Harmonics is when you and your content and your information are resonating with the audience. And if you ever put two turning forks together, when they're not resonating together, they vibrate violently. When they get on the same frequency, they vibrate in perfect harmony, right? That's what you're trying to do by doing all these steps. So I think my alarm went off. I tried to keep it to 20 minutes there, Joel.
Wow, Michael. Michael Chi, mahalo, brother. Thank you so much for that wonderful, empowering presentation, because you really captured it in terms of either giving someone a fish, and Michael, what you have just shared with all our viewers is really how to fish, and that's empowerment, that's sustainability, that is true building. So I'm going to give you a virtual high five, a virtual shaka. Michael, we'd love to have you back and to continue your sharing with us at future dates, Michael. So thank you, thank AECOM for the wonderful work they do in infrastructure in the city and for the work that you do in our community. Thank you again, Michael. All right. So everybody, we're going to move to our second theme of resiliency. And we know in this time in the pandemic that everybody needs to pivot. Everybody needs to understand we're moving forward. We're not going back. And with small business and business in general, it's how do you do that? And we'd like to share with you our kind of our guest, who's a small business owner. And I'd like to ask our team to bring her on stage. And Aisha Eco is a wonderful part of our community here at West Adams WorkSource Center. And Aisha, I want to start by really kind of getting who you are. And I want to see if you could share with the audience your background and your heritage. And you have a great name, Aisha Eco. Can you tell a little bit about your background and your heritage, Aisha?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Joel. I'm very honored to be invited in this what they call it, this meeting. And let me just start my video.
There you are. Hi, Aisha.
Yeah, so my name is Aisha Eco, and I'm actually Filipino. I just got here like 5 years ago, and yeah, so everything started when I worked with PACE and the yeah. So right now I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I started as this entrepreneurial experience because ever since I was a kid, I was actually I love making money. It's not the lack of the money, but the process. And when I was young, I remember I even had this. I spent the money for my school trip, and then I was pressured to give it back to my school trip, and I was using whatever resource that I have at home. So and then I even started to get the promotion as a young kid. I even started to have this kind of mentality, like to get the promotion, like, hey, if you have bring a friend, you have yours is free, you know? So those are the practice, I think, as a young age.
Right.
And I think that applies now in my current business, which is I have before I actually have I still have it, but I have a cosmetic business. To work for airlines, the Cathay Pacific, and I used to sell those eyelashes to the ground steward, what they call, so staff working in the airline from Terminal 1 to Tom Bradley, because I know it's a glamorous job. So I just go with the flow in a way that I just see whatever reason I have, what kind of connections that I have. And So right now, since the pandemic, my cosmetic business is drastically it went slowed down. And I have in Singapore. I used to live in Singapore, and I do have my sister in Singapore, and she's actually my partner right now. And what happened is that she down her store in in Singapore. So that has a really big impact in our business.
Okay.
So what happened is that we sat down, and then I asked her what kind of we write down what kind of resources. It's like go back from the start. What kind of resources and connections that we have in the current state that we're in right now? As what Mr. Michael said, digital marketing, and then product. What kind of product? Right now we have a pandemic, so that's how I switched. Like, hey, I think we need to sell some masks, not just because of the business, but because we can help people. We end up helping people, and as we started to, I started to connect with Frank Sosa and Mr. Joel, and that's how they turn out like, hey, maybe I could just refer you to Mr. Andrew to contact you to get you a contract. That's how it started. And so in this so I changed the gears from selling eyelashes to face masks.
Wow. From
And
eyelashes to PPE with Aisha. That's an incredible
yes,
story.
PPE, yes. And the greatest challenges that I have actually, especially with this in this pandemic, is I think the changes is what we are experiencing now becomes extra challenging with the pandemic, and we all know about this. And since I changed my product from cosmetic to PPE, a lot of changes. So we have to start from the scratch. We have to start from build connections, networking, product knowledge, and so on. And one, the challenge that got us is that we need to have a better foundation. The foundation, which is one time I asked Andrew, because he helped through all of this process actually. So I'm very thankful. And I talked to Mr. Andrew regarding the contract to LA County. And I didn't know that they need a certain foundation, basic foundation as a seller, which is the permit and license. So, and this lockdown situation is really challenging because we need to do all the, and I don't want to postpone the opportunities, and I just want to grab it. So I did it myself, and this with the help of PACE, with the help of PACE and Mr. Joel, all the guidance, how I get the permit, license, the accountant, the everything that is like the basic foundation for the business.
Okay.
And then, so all this hurdles and rejections, especially when you're starting a business, and since I got divorced this year, so I have no choice but to set aside the feelings, but to work on the progress, because it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to have a progress every day in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that I have in my business is that I said my sister and I have this really big impact, but we turn that challenging, unfortunate events to a potential opportunities. We use it as a leverage, and since since we as we penetrate to the industry, we learn more. We learn more how to play the business, and as you network to more people, the more you know about the network, how you play it, and you know this, and you know the structure, that's where you do it like it's your last shot, actually. So I did to LA County, and some of the proposals I submitted to the other medical tenders, because I'm selling a mask. That's where I expanded my product into not just selling masks, not just N95, but other PPEs as well. That's where I expand, because I'm starting to know about the industry. And then, well, the business changed every time, actually, in a way that I look at it like you're in a battle. What you do in a battle is you're preparing for a war. When you prepare for a war, it's like you prepare for the strategic plan, how you change the gear, and how you win an opponent. And what I'm saying is to how do I get even with this pandemic, this COVID-19? So that's where my strategy comes from. And then, so along the way, we were starting to have a connection to using the digital marketing. And I also have help from the PACE, which is very thankful, because it's not just the structure of the business, but they help you out regarding networking in a way that they connect you on how you sell it, on where it, and out to the LA County to connect it. And that's where I changed my strategic plan. That's where I got the what to get for my business to take off, just those basic and I think we can learn a lot about this business, because I was actually kind of scared like it's gonna take off, because the first thing that I actually planned is that maybe just the social media, maybe I the connection from the social media. But as I get to know more about this business, I as my market, that's how, like I said, that's how when you penetrate the industry, you learn more that that quality that I need to sell, what kind of products that I have, that I should sell to each one of segment. And so I'm learning a lot throughout the process, and that's where I love it. It's not about the money; it's about the process takes in.
Excellent. All right, Ms. Aisha, thank you for sharing this really compelling story of pivoting, all right, of being creative from where you were and what you were doing and to the future. Do you have any closing recommendations for other business owners who may be in the same boat as you? Just a quick comment. What would you recommend to other business owners?
Okay, I think the first one is allow yourself to fail. Allow yourself to fail, because fear of failing is what is the person is holding back. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just have a progress. So like I said, I think of the failing, the fear of failing is what the person holding back to the start. So allow yourself to fail. And another one is that any rejection, hurdle, everything that cried for, rose through, sat through, everything, it is a setup for you a season. And the lastly is that you need to have a faith in God, because I think you need to prepare yourself emotionally in a way that because faith becomes hope, and then hope becomes what triggers your mind to believe you can do it. And once you believe that, that's where you don't give up.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ms. Aisha, Iko, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. And I think on behalf of the partnership of both West Adams Worksource Center and the PACE Mid-City Business Source Center, we're honored to be able to serve you in any way, shape, or form. And we look forward to your continued success as you move forward with your business. So Aisha, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everybody,
you.
we're gonna move forward. Thank you, Aisha. And we're gonna move from this idea of resiliency and Aisha's wonderful narrative to this idea of diversity, okay? And in diversity, we understand that not as a buzzword, but as a fact of life here in Los Angeles. And when we talk about opportunity here, it's so important that we embrace this idea of what are the opportunities in diversity that can help our small businesses. And I'm really fortunate and lucky to have Veronica Soto, who is a senior advisor for the workforce development of LAWA, of Los Angeles World Airport, the Hire LAX program. All right, she's also the senior advisor for workforce development for the Hire LAX program, which hires local individuals from diverse backgrounds. Veronica possesses over 20 years experience in developing public agency, economic, and workforce development programs that promote diversity, economic inclusion based on high standards of equity, open competition, and transparency. Veronica's commitment to creating connections between the industry and youth is also long-standing. She created an engineering pathway program to target the diversity of students entering the design and construction industry, which is incredible. And not only does she do that, but she's also on serving the variety of boards of directors and is a member of numerous industry organizations and the recipient of local, regional, and national awards for her work building the competitive capacity of small, diverse firms and creative pathways for local and disadvantaged workers. So when we talk about LA moving forward and the infrastructure and all the opportunity, there's no one else that is as in it and supportive of small businesses than Veronica Soto. So everybody, let's welcome Veronica Soto. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you so much, Joel, and to everyone that is viewing this and listening. This is a great opportunity to get a few thoughts and share those thoughts with everyone, because I think that right now we're very open to listening and to doing things a different way. And so I want to go ahead and kind of, talk about diversity, but from the lens of how do we cultivate diversity? How do we strengthen diversity? How do we develop it? And of course, one of the resounding themes of this morning's webinar is resiliency. How do we prepare our community to grow and prosper, even at times of, it could be a natural disaster. Right now we're facing an epidemic, but we're also need to be prepared for a natural disaster. So to the next slide. So, people always talk about diversity and they think it's only a few groups, because when government talks about diversity, they focus on the protected classes, right? The Asians, Asian Americans, African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, and to a certain degree, our community is much broader than that. And so we need to look at diversity as inclusive, that it includes everyone, but at the same time that there is strength in that inclusion. 15 years ago, we used to say there was 120 different languages spoken in Los Angeles. This weekend, I was listening to the news and they said there was 300 languages spoken in Los Angeles. What does that mean? That means that more people have come to Los Angeles from further areas than we had before, which means that our diversity has grown exponentially during a 15-year period. Los Angeles County has the largest concentration of small minority and women-owned businesses than anywhere else in the nation. So just think about that. We are the microcosm of the world culturally, but we are also the microcosm of the business community here in LA County. However, with that diversity also comes that challenges. And in some cases, that diversity is tied to those challenges. In our community, in our business community, we still have the challenges of financial management, making sure that we have the proper financial infrastructure in our businesses to be able to move forward, to grow and prosper, and also to be able to deal with situations like we're dealing with right now with COVID. Access to capital, a continuous trend in hampering our ability to move forward, and at sometimes hampering our ability to grow our competitiveness is sometimes tied to access to capital. And not only do we have that, but bonding. In certain industries, you need bonding in construction. And that is always tied to access to capital. So if we're not getting access to capital, we're also not getting bonded, which means that the potential for minority and women-owned companies that are small in this sector is also challenged by that mere fact. Now, diversity, as we know it, has changed. You know, we, again, looking at it from the lens of the past and looking at it from the lens of the future. When millennials look at diversity, they look at diversity very differently than I did when I was their age. I'm aging myself. But the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that millennials will make up 75% of our workforce. So what does that mean? Most of these millennials are foreign-born. They're biracial, LGBTQ, and all of them don't look at diversity just based on race, like many of us in the different generations did. They're looking at diversity from the standpoint of unique experiences, identities, and ideas. And so we need to go ahead and also expand our lens as to how we look at diversity, because this new generation of leaders are coming and they have a different perspective. And we need to capitalize on that. And again, make sure that we are growing and prospering at the same time. Next slide. So cultivation. You know, I always say it's great that we have people in a broad range of industries, but when you look at certain industries, minorities and women are the least represented. When you look at the design field, construction, these are fields where women are not highly represented. And in some cases, people of color are not represented either. And so how do we go ahead and expand diversity? One of those ways is to cultivate the next generation, to change the face of the industry. And we have a lot of leaders in the industry right now that have taken a leadership role in doing just that. What you see here, and I'm just going to call attention because I think it was such an important picture that says a lot. The larger photograph has all these kids. And as you can see, the kids are diverse. These are LA kids. And they were part of a program called IC, I'm a student exploring excellence in architecture and engineering. The individual, the adult on the far left is Miguel Corcio, an electrical engineer. The gentleman, you know, to the right in the center is Drake Dillard. And Drake Dillard is an architect and also part of the leadership of NOMA LA, which is the National Organization of Minority Architects. And the individual on the far right, who is no longer with us, is Bill Yang. And Bill Yang, a mechanical engineer that not only committed to these young people, exposing them to the world of mechanical engineering, but he was there as a mentor and a supporter. And so again, the industry, we have such a vibrant industry. Again, look at the statistics. We have the largest number of minority women-owned companies, you know, in the nation. So how do we take that talent and cultivate that next generation of industry professionals in quality career jobs, you know, and take advantage of the infrastructure that we have, the workforce centers in Los Angeles, the county's programs. You know, these kids were funded through the Summer Youth Employment Program. So they had their internship paid through that. Again, bringing industry and youth and partnerships together in order to cultivate the next generation of a skilled labor workforce. And so, as you can see, these are high school kids, but we are also doing that with young adults. We also have a vulnerable population in Los Angeles, which is our foster youth. We need to be doing more. They are our most vulnerable population in Los Angeles. They make up the largest concentration of the prison population, and they also make the largest composition of the homeless population. And so the more that we do and integrate our foster youth into these type of programs, we will also be able not only to expand the diversity, but also minimize the impacts that in some cases are more prevalent in certain communities of color. Next slide. So, in acknowledging and celebrating Asian and Pacific Islander American Heritage Month, I wanted to do a spotlight on someone who I believe has left a lasting legacy, who is was a personal friend of mine. and who, to a certain degree, mentored me. When I met him, I was a kid myself. I was younger than a millennial. And so I just want to kind of share with you his story, because I think it's one that resonates, and I think that is one that we build upon when we think about our diverse community, our diverse business community. And that is that, you know, Bill founded his company in 1966. And the reason he founded his company in 1966 is because they would not hire him. Even though he had the qualifications of a professional engineer, they would not hire him because he was Chinese. And so he was prompted to establish his own company. And so in 1966, he started his company, and his company to this day continues to exist. But not only did he do something for himself to move himself forward, he was also a founder of the Asian Business Association, a founder of the Asian American Architects and Engineers, a founder of the Chinese American Construction Professionals, served on numerous small business advisory councils. He served on mine when I was at LAUSD, served on Caltrans in order to expand opportunity, in order to make the procurement process more open and competitive and fair for businesses of color and women-owned businesses. And so as we saw him as a high school lecturer, cultivating the next generation. He employed interns from the program. And again, he was a true friend, not only a personal friend, but a friend of Los Angeles. And I think we should celebrate individuals like Bill, who have made a tremendous, impact in Los Angeles, but also take his hard work and grow from there in order to, again, expand what he has done, but also further the efforts of Los Angeles to make it a more holistic, integrated, and fruitful city and county for everyone that lives within it. Next slide. And so the topic of resiliency. I don't think there's anyone that's listening or viewing this today that has not read about seeing the impacts of COVID-19, the impacts on our health. When we look at the numbers have grown from Friday. LA County, I believe the numbers are now like at 43,000 individuals have now passed away. I mean, that's a tremendous, 46,000 individuals have been detected with COVID in LA County. 2,100 of them have died. But when you look at who these people are, again, it's predominantly in communities of color. So what is it in these communities of color that predispose us to, again, be the ones that are impacted by something negative? And so again, we're the frontline workers, we're the people who are out there, we're the ones that may not have had access to healthcare. These are all things that made this what it is, these statistics what they are. The economic impact, our small businesses, a lot of them may not come back. A lot of them are struggling. You have, again, a tremendous amount of diversity in our business community, but then we also have the fact that a lot of them have been closed for almost 2 months. And when you look at them being closed, their small businesses, especially immigrant-owned businesses, also hire local people. They hire local residents. They hire their families. And so now you just don't have the impact of the business. You have an impact in different households, in the entire community. And so how do we go ahead and deal with those impacts in a way that addresses those things? Because again, not all businesses are made the same. A small business on Central Avenue, a small business on Main Street, a small business on Atlantic Boulevard is not the same business as one on Wilshire Boulevard. And so we need to have different programs to address the different issues and challenges that these different types of businesses have. We are facing a 25%, I think now we're at 25% unemployment. Most likely in LA County, it's going to be above 30%. And so how do we go ahead and utilize the extraordinary resources that we have in Los Angeles to minimize those impacts? And again, how do we prepare? Let's evaluate our preparedness. What have we gone through during these last few months that we can learn from? What did government do? What did they do right? Let's not talk about the federal government, but let's talk about our local government, because those are the ones that we are connected to immediately. I cannot personally say enough for the County of Los Angeles and for the City of LA for taking such a strong leadership role in providing resources out on the street, especially for those individuals or immigrant communities that did not qualify for federal programs. They went ahead and got innovative. Again, innovation, resiliency. How, those are the things that we need to see. What worked, what didn't work? How were these people excluded? How did the government go around and be able to find monies in order to be able to help those immigrants that do so much out there in the fields and agriculture and on the front lines? How do we go ahead? How did they do that? How did it work? Again, the data is not all in, but it's something that we should focus on. What did government do? What did government did not do? Again, our traditional institutions. When you look at the payroll protection program, a lot of our traditional institutions failed our small businesses. Well, I'm talking about the big banks. They failed some of our small businesses because they're not in touch with that mom and pop shop that is on Central Avenue, on Main Street, on Atlantic Boulevard. They are not in tune with them. They took care of the larger businesses. But what did happen though, the NGOs stepped in. You have the CDFIs, the Community Development Financial Institutions, who basically in the second round of the PPP, they got an allotment. And so those are the small financial institutions, just like PACE's program. They have a CDFI. They knew who their clients are. They knew who needed support. They knew that these small businesses, these micro businesses, hired local residents. And so they knew where to go. They knew how to help. And so again, the NGOs, whether it be the work source centers, offsetting, moving a version of unemployment, making sure that those who were unemployed and impacted got other jobs. And in some cases, it was I would say it was an improvement from the job that they had before. We had people who were working in retail that now are working at a grocery store and now, are union. They're covered by collective bargaining. They have benefits, which they did not have before. And so how do we go ahead and identify all these different things that occurred? And how do we go ahead and say what worked, what didn't work? And how do we ensure that we strengthen those things that did work? And those things that didn't work, why didn't they work? And let's plan around it and figure out how we can make that a success. I cannot say enough about the CDFIs because I really think that those are the institutions that lend, that have more flexibility, that are able to provide, access to capital and to those businesses that need it the most. So what happens next time? Okay, in Los Angeles, we haven't had a natural disaster since 1994. And that was the earthquake, the Northridge earthquake. And we know what happened. We had a lot of property damage, personal and private. We had the 10 freeway overlap, basically collapsed. There's a lot of work, a lot of infrastructural work that needed to be fixed. And so we know that, but that was not the big one. That was not the big one. And so what do we do next time? Another epidemic? A natural disaster? One of the things that I think that we need to stay focused on, and I think there's a theme and everyone says it, but I think we need to start living it. And that is that we are in it together. We don't need to parcel out communities. We don't need to designate, this is the African American community, this is the Asian American community, this is the Latino community. We are one community. And I think that, like I said, 15 years ago, we had 120 different languages. Now we have 300 in Los Angeles. What does that mean? Our millennials, again, most of them, a lot of them are biracial. So again, it's no longer in silos, race or ethnic silos. We are one community. And how do we go ahead and take what we've gone through and develop a one community plan? So that way we can move forward the next time and be better prepared, because there's going to be a lot of recovery and we're not even in recovery yet. We're just dealing with impact. We're not in recovery. And so whatever that may look like, Joe, I look to your leadership and maybe developing something and creating a group of people who can help develop that one community plan for the next time. And I just want you to know that you can count me in. Thank you.
Wow. Veronica. Oh my gosh, wonderful. Thank you for, Veronica, thank you for your wisdom, for your solidarity, for helping everybody understand that we're in it together, that we're interdependent. This is not silos. The diversity is unity. In our diversity, we are all unified. So thankful because we look forward to working together with you to get our small businesses to be involved in those types of government programs and public agency programs that will help them move forward. Okay, so mil gracias, Veronica. ¿Verdad? Okay. Everybody, we're going to move forward. We're going to wrap it up. It's 11:16. We've had wonderful, wonderful panelists from Michael Chi, who shared with us the metaphor of fishing and sustainability, to Aisha Iko, who shared with us her ability to pivot, to strategize like it was war, and to move forward without fear of failure. And to Veronica Soto, who so aptly was able to wrap this up in terms of the contextual environment that we live in, that we're all in this together. We impact each other. We find ourselves in the other person. We have no choice. This is our reality, and it's a great reality. Let's bring back our counselors, just so that you could see who is to our PACE team. If you could bring Frank and Suprani and Wailing, and just so that you could see us and to realize that what Veronica was talking about, what Aisha was talking about, and what Michael was talking about is the ability to work with intermediary organizations like our Asian American Drug Abuse Program and our West Adams Workforce Center and Pacific Asia Consortium on Employment and our Mid-City Business Source Center. So Wailing, you're on there. Wailing, any closing statements for PACE and the Business Source Center?
No, I am really, really excited, happy that we have been invited and partnership with AADAP in this celebrating the Asian American Heritage Month. Yes, it's all about collaboration, it's partnership, and we are serving the same community, and we want to continue to provide resources to our community and to keep our community, especially the small businesses, thriving, and they can ride through this unprecedented time. And we want them to see them come back out stronger and better and more resilient. Yeah. Thank you for organizing. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Joel.
Yes.
Hi, Joel. It's Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
Yeah, I want to thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I was having technical difficulty over here, but I was able to listen to the talks. It's very inspirational. And Michael, Aisha, and Veronica, I always enjoy your perspective of the workforce in LA. And most of all, I would like to thank you, Joel, for putting this together, Joel and Weiling and your team for putting this together. All right.
Daisy, your leadership, your service and leadership and partnership with PACE have allowed us to do this, yours and Lewis's. So without further ado, it's a little bit after time, but it's okay. Remember to fish. Remember to not fear failure. And remember to always understand we're all in this together. What happens to any one of us happens to all of us. Thank you all for joining our Asian Pacific American Heritage Month business webinar entitled Diversity, Resilience, and Success. Take everybody, and we'll see you in the future. Stay tuned to AADAP and PACE working together to serve the community because people need people. Signing off. See you folks soon.
Bye.